This is here the all-new Mercedes CLA Shooting Brake, the latest Mercedes estate or wagon or Kombi, as we say in Germany. But of course, in this case, this coupe style estate. It's already the new CLA sedan, and also this new shooting brake will come all electric and also with the mild hybrid petrol engine. So both powertrains will be available, and all the details you need to know now with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the CLA Shooting Brake. In the front here with the illuminated grille, you can get this one. It will only look exactly like this in the electric version. In the petrol version, you will have these stars here as a pattern, but it will be a little bit more open. We already filmed one of the sedan for you right there. Then it has basically this dual face where you have the light strip on top of that goes through. Matrix LED is an option, and you can see already this star pattern here in the daytime running light. And fun fact here, they were not allowed to make it CI looking Mercedes star because the regulators say, oh, a daytime running light is not allowed to look like a corporate identity 100%. That's why they had to make it a little bit different than the normal Mercedes stars. Yeah, sometimes it's not the manufacturer's fault, but the regulator's fault. This is high-tech silver, this color here, and the main difference to the sedan is of course right here in this silhouette. Has the estate form, but then again with a more sensual coupe shade. That's why they also call it shooting brake. The length, however, is the same at 4.72 m or 186 inches, both for the sedan and for the estate, and also 17 to 19-inch wheels. These are the biggest 19-inch wheels. In this case then here in black, and we also have it then here with this night package that we have the mirrors here all in black and the frames and so on, but you can also get lighter design versions if you prefer that, of course, and of course also different exterior colors. Suspension is a base steel suspension. There's no adaptive suspension available or something like that. And then towards the rear, you know that the CD value will be a little bit worse than with the sedan. You will lose a little bit of range, but it won't be that significant. The CLA 250 Plus, the Plus always indicates that this is the best range model of the EV lineup. There's also the 350 available, and that really depends then on the horsepower output and the acceleration figure. The shooting brake is 0.1 seconds slower than the sedan. And that means that the 350, the quicker version, accelerates in about 5 seconds, 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. And this one here then is just below 7 seconds, but it won't again be a major difference actually between the shooting brake and the sedan. There will also be the mild hybrid petrol versions, front-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive. It's a 1.5 liter 4-cylinder. Yeah, you don't get more displacement. We were wondering about that. But we already heard that this 48-volt mild hybrid board system means that when you go reverse gear, it usually drives electric from the 48-volt board battery. Only if you then go like really long way uphill in reverse gear, then the combustion engine will also hop on. Here you can also see the light strip goes all the way through, and then we can already flip this Mercedes star. Electric tailgate is also standard, and we can see this difference into the sedan. We have here then this cover, and this is then 50 liters more of trunk capacity. We'll soon also go in depth on the trunk. Here then at 455 liters up to 1,290 liters. Now let's check out the frunk with a dual release from the inside, and then the practical thing is that you can then directly lift it without another unlock or something. That's cool. And this is indeed 100 liters. This is just a fabric cover like this. There's no covering on the inside here, but obviously I think that's not really necessary. I mean, there's also no engine that's making any noise. I wonder if the petrol versions will then have a sound technique here. I would suppose so. But now to the EV specific things. So you will start with the LFP battery that's coming at the later stage when you watch this video. 58 kilowatt hours usable, so net. Or already available at the start, the 85 kilowatt hour net battery. This is an NMC chemistry. And for this battery, for the bigger one, we already have the charging figure of 10 to 80% state of charge in 22 minutes. This is of course pretty quick, 800 volt charging. And the AC charging with the start of the shooting brake, you will either be able to go with the standard 11 kilowatt or optional also can pick the 22 kilowatt AC. And when the shooting brake is launching, then this option is also available for the sedan or for the coupe, however you want to call it. And another important aspect, if you're interested in 400 volt charging, for which use case is that? If you have, like, let's say, older DC chargers or DC chargers which are not so high in the kilowatt peak, so let's say 50 to 100 kilowatt chargers which are running on 400 volt. At the start of the vehicle, for the sedan, also the start of the shooting brake, it's not available. And then early 2026, you will also have, again, this option that this vehicle can also do that. It's a little bit strange because no other electric vehicle with 800 volt technology has this problem. And then they also only make it optional. Mercedes says that in future, most chargers will be either high power or you charge at home, so you won't really need it. Still, there will be some use cases for people who do want that. So if that is a relevant thing for you, you gotta wait until it's available. And then the question is, of course, which range can we expect somewhat? Also, if we look at the official driving cycles, if you then downplay them a little bit to make them more realistic. With the big battery, you can expect some 600 kilometers or 350 miles, you know, as a first realistic expectation, because this will be quite efficient. And when we can drive, starting with the sedan, we can also tell you a little bit more about that. Of course, at a later stage, we have to do a real concise real-world driving test on the German Autobahn. Also maybe like with 130 kilometers an hour, cruise control and so on. And then we can tell you more about that if we can confirm that or not. But it's already quite clear. They all have a good CD value, no matter what you pick. And the tech is quite efficient with this new architecture. And for motorway speeds, by the way, this will also get a 2-speed gearbox for the electric version, then for more efficiency and also better acceleration, especially at higher speeds. Top speed, by the way, is 210 kilometers an hour. Now to the interior, and here the door handles, either when you press open here or when you slide, then they pop open. We already know this from Mercedes. And you might wonder, what about the crash case and so on? I talked with Mercedes as well, because recently there were some cases with other brands where people were trapped inside and actually burned to death in a crash. And Mercedes says that in case of a crash, the high voltage system is cut off, the windows go down, the door handles pop out. And should that not happen, because the normal low voltage board net would also be like so damaged in like a catastrophic crash, then Mercedes says, even if they would be closed, which usually should not happen, you could use a credit card, or the firefighters could maybe use a screwdriver and just manually, like put this one here open, because the only electric thing is that it pops out. And then this one here, the opening mechanism, is totally mechanical. So the firefighters could, and even that they make it exactly in this design, that in the case they could really do like this and rip the door open. And plus, from the inside, this unlock is also still mechanical, with a wire, not an electric wire, but like a real metal wire, that you can even manually open it from the inside in case. I think it was a very important topic to cover. I'm personally still not a fan of these door handles. I would just keep it rather classic, and because the aerodynamic effect is minimal of these. And then here, the door closing sound is extremely solid, although you've seen these are frameless windows, and very rarely do we see cars with frameless windows that still have a very good door closing sound. So kudos to that. Then there's no dual insulation or something available, but the windows itself, they are already quite thick. Then a good build quality at the inside of the doors. It's a high-grade leatherette with contrast stitching. If you have, this red interior, some will like it, some don't. Of course, different colors are available, also more subtle colors. Nice ambient lighting integration here around, looks cool. Also here at the inside. Leah suggested earlier that these here should also be like galvanized like this part, and I agree to her. Then, good step forward once again, that here, these seat controls, they give now a feedback again. So you know that the generation before that, the Mercedes models, they removed this feedback, that they move. Now you have it again, cool. Then inside of the doors, let's see in the lower part, there's like a rubber ground, which you cannot see, that things don't slide so much, but here a little bit hard plastic on the inside, but overall the build quality is actually decent. Here, this is a matter of discussion. You have two window levers. And if you want to control the rear windows, you click the rear button like in the VW ID3, ID4, ID5 and so on. Mercedes says that the reason for that is not cost saving, but a space issue, that they want to have this handle here and in an ergonomic form, not too far backwards. So they want to shorten this area, and then this decision came. The levers itself, they're actually quite cool. They're fine. But it is a matter of discussion if you want only two window levers. Some say it's more practical, some say I want four levers, so feel free to discuss this in the comments. Then a nice illuminated entry badge right here. This is also the AMG line you've seen on the exterior, and that means it's connected. AMG line exterior and interior, and yay! Biggest news of today, you have the return of the jogs here for the cruise control. And here also the real metal knurled or galvanized volume jog. And this is a direct feedback from the customers and also here from Autogefühl. And I think it's a very nice example that they can listen to customer feedback and also to our feedback and bring back these features that everyone wants to. And that means that it also will come to the CLA sedan soon again. Then here, these are high-grade leather seats, Artico or MB Tex. Here in the black-red scheme. Depending on the market, different ones are available. Here you have sport seats because it's the AMG line. They have a little bit more bolstering at the side and this somewhat integrated head restraint, which can be moved forward also here, for example. The base comfort seat would be a little bit more open. And depending on market, Germany also offers fabric mixes. UK is more all the way either Artico like this or also microfiber. The standard AMG seat would be microfiber on the inside and then this here on the outside, so different materials are available. And they really have made a step in more animal-free materials, and yet at the same time they are really high grade. Some markets still offer animal skin options. Then here with 189, 6'2", still some headroom left here to this panoramic glass roof, either a standard glass roof which cannot be tinted, or this glass roof here, which has the combination of these nice stars. This is exclusive to the Shooting Brake. The sedan does not get that. So you have this illumination which is connected to the ambient lighting. That means when I switch the ambient lighting color, which I can do here for you, to switch on the vehicle, there we go. So switching the ambient lighting color also switches the color of the stars.
Oh, I love that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe some pink stars for Leah.
Yay.
Yeah, that's very cool, right? Nice feature. And there's the second thing. This always comes in combination that it's also electrochrome, that you can have this inbuilt shade. And I can also show that. It's only possible in the screen here. So there's no, I would wish a button here, but they did not do that. You can only do it in the screen. So and here I can set it to, there we go. This is more shade then. It also blocks out more sun indeed. Then you can clear it up again, like this, has a cool effect. And you can also have like a mixed mode, so to speak. So here, there's split open, split closed. This is more a design effect, I would say. But it looks cool. And once again, the logic is either normal glass roof or this special glass roof with electrochrome plus the ambient lighting stars. There is no fixed roof available. Yeah, that's the thing. For really hot countries or states, would have been cool if they still offered a fixed roof, I would say. Also nice that you can move the steering wheel manual up and down in on the very far way. And also the mechanism they found here, it feels pretty smooth. Yeah, but my favorite feature for today is really here, the return of the manual buttons at the steering wheel. So that really shows you that it's worth to take your time to comment and say, hey, you know, I would suggest this and so on. And if you talk to me, and we really always gather your comments, and then I meet the product managers and then I tell them, hey, we have got 50 comments from you that you don't want capacitive buttons on the steering wheel. You want something to press and to turn. And then we tell that to them, and of course it doesn't work in the month, but then the next generation, like the steering wheel, they can change things again. And one more thing that maybe you also will say now, and I also say, yeah, it's good that we can move these here again. But where is the button for the seat heating? That was an advantage of Mercedes in comparison to BMW, I feel. But the seat heating now also moved to the screen. That would be something maybe that you say, I do want this the seat heating button still in the inside of the doors. Maybe that will be our next suggestion to Mercedes then. Welcome to this new cockpit of the CLA. Pretty cool here with the air vents, turbine style, also with the ambient lighting integration. Optional passenger screen in 14-inch. You don't have to go for that one. If you don't pick one, you have like a star grid area here as well. And then 14-inch normal infotainment system, and then you have the digital instruments that all form one unit, so to speak. Air vents here also make some clicking sounds in the middle part. You do have some hotkeys here for the voice control, which is massively enhanced, by the way, and also for the dynamic select, where you can select the drive. Bless you, Leah. For the sometimes the studio here is like really dusty from the lights and so on. So the dynamic select here, you do not change the suspension here because you don't have an adaptive suspension, but you do change like how the steering response is and so on. Yeah, and to the voice assistant, it's actually pretty cool because the recognition is done with Google Gemini, and then the information you get is from Microsoft ChatGPT. And this combination is really effective that you can naturally talk to the car. For example, you can also ask the car about some vehicle functions if you don't know where to search, how to control something, and then the vehicle can explain that to you. So that actually works very, very well. Here, for example, what I also found out with the voice assistant, here the recuperation settings is actually quite intuitive. It's the shifting lever, basically drive, reverse, park. And then here, recuperation, press this one forward or backward to change the recuperation mode. For example, more to a one pedal driving or more to no recuperation. And that's actually a pretty cool system. So why not? Let's see if the sunlight is extendable. No, it's actually not. Frameless rear mirror here. This also feels really nice in the quality. And then the glove box falls down smoothly. It's pretty tiny though, but also covered here with a rubber ground. Then this middle console, you have an open area here for the inductive charging pad. It looks also ventilated here. Then you have here some cup holders. Yeah, they won't hold bottles that tight though. It's good that you also have alternatives to high gloss black here in the middle console. Nice ambient lighting integration. Then it's also softer for your elbow here. Split opening. Then you have a cubby hole on top of that and more space underneath, also with a fabric ground and so on. And we really have to say that when we first had the very first CLA in the studio, it was like a hand-built car and so on, and we were kind of skeptical about the interior build quality, but we really have to say now, since they've built more cars, the sedan is now already on the road, we'll soon drive it for you, the interior quality has been massively improved indeed. You can still argue about like the screens, still bring a lot of high gloss black scheme in the whole vehicle because of the bezels and so on. That's maybe a thing, but how you touch and feel the things and so on, this really has been improved pretty much. The seats, by the way, let's say not too wide. So if you like, a little bit bigger, it might be a problem. Maybe go for like a test seating. And as I said, this here being the sports seat, a little bit tighter, a little bit more bolstering and so on. And the driver POV, once again, kudos to Mercedes to give us back here the real jogs at the steering wheel. Then the digital instruments here, you control them from the steering wheel. You have the classic view here, or this assistant system view, or the map view. So these ones are available, and I do it here with my right thumb. So the one on the left is gone, but I think we also don't need two of the of these arrows there. There's also a head-up display available, and then the main infotainment unit. It's way quicker than before, so how reactive or responsive it is, that's actually pretty cool. Here also in the map, for example, when I zoom in and out, of course preconditioning is also included in this one. Here it shows me the charging stations and so on, and it will also calculate then the stops on the route. Climate unit is here, sadly no manual function for that available. By the way, it also once again changes the ambient lighting color when you change the color. Change the temperature. That's also pretty cool. At least it is here in this first layer. And then here for the seat heating, you have to do 2 steps, basically like this. And there is also a main menu, but you see like the main improvement is it's really, really quick. And also it's a good overview. Of course, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is once again available. Now to the rear compartment. First of all, the rear doors. There we go. So this is the maximum. It goes down, doesn't go that far, and maybe then you can excuse that there are only 2 window levers in the front, right? If you can hardly open it. Then here everything nicely covered, high grade leather red on top already. Here also with the red, of course, there's also non-red interior available, as I said. Also here you hardly see black plastic, only at the inside of the doors. This is not covered then in this case. And then here also the seats with ISOFIX on the outside, but this is like a clip that has to be removed entirely. Actually, you cannot fold it open or something like that. And also, if you think about installing child seats, then you're starting to mess around with these. Then definitely, let's check out tomorrow when I'm finished. But here also how the door is opening is not opening very wide. Gotta say that. And then what is pretty nice is here the middle console, illuminated USB-C chargers, and also pretty cool turbine air vents for the rear seats. So that's actually very nice. Then we can pull down this here for a smartphone holder and also cup holders. These are not adaptive though. And well, the comfort itself is not too bad here. And also the advantage is that in the Shooting Brake, you have a little bit more headroom in the rear if in comparison with the sedan. So here with 189/62, it's fine. You also can enjoy this panoramic roof one more time here with the illuminated stars. But there are 2 problems with this vehicle, that considering of the length is not too much rear legroom. I can sit here as a tall adult also when I have set my driving position in the front. So it's exactly possible, but nothing more actually. However, if you think about a Mercedes E-Class, that's even longer, doesn't have much more legroom, so in comparison to that. Second problem is, at least with the electric versions, you can see here, there are no foot garages. It means the floor is rather even, but it's really high. And that means my feet are high, and that's why my knees are really high in comparison to my hips. You can see it looks kind of weird. The petrol mild hybrid version will have deeper foot garages. So if you're more interested in that version, then the knee would be a little bit lower in that case. So this is like the limit of this vehicle then in the space sense. Now we take a look in detail. The trunk, there we go, is the cover. You can also remove that, of course. Here the trolley also fits in vertically underneath, no problem. Little bit of space in the very front than here. I would suppose that the mild hybrid petrol has a little bit more space underneath than here as well. The width here between the wheel arches is a little bit less than 1 meter or 40 inches. The length is exactly 1 meter or 40 inches. And then here 27 inches or 68 centimeters for the height. Only thing is here with recent Mercedes, plastic piece right here. Not sure if it's needed for stability reasons or something. I would prefer a fabric covering there. To fold the seats, there's no remote unlocks, but you can grab over. There's also the middle, just the ski hatch is possible. And like this, 1/3, 2/3. Other way, you can also go around. And then the total length is here at 71 inches or 1 meters 80. Total setup here 1,290 liters, if I didn't mention so far. So the Shooting Brake adds more usability where the sedan is especially limited in the trunk area. And the looks, some even prefer this combi, this estate form here with the Shooting Brake. Would you go for the sedan or for the Shooting Brake? Tell me in the comments. Pricing wise, very interesting. So with the LFP battery, the small battery, it's coming at a later stage, and also with the mild hybrid petrol engines, this will be 46,000 euros something, so below 47, something like that. Probably like at the moment 6 or 50 euros is the difference between the sedan and the Shooting Brake from the previous generation, and we can expect that this difference will be somewhat the same. If you go for the bigger battery, it's more like 10,000 euros more, like 56,000 something. And if you go full spec, you can also get a CLA EV all-wheel drive big battery to like 70,000 euros something. If you go for the UK pound prices, you can always like deduct 10,000 and then you have your approximate pound price. So this is like the rough range so far. And it will be very interesting if customers will rather go for the big battery, the small battery, or the mild hybrid petrol engine. And I think it will also differ from market to market. So already looking really forward to your feedback if you would go for EV big battery, EV small battery, or if you wait for the mild hybrid petrol engine, which will also then come at a later stage, probably also end of 2025, early 2026. And now check out more of the competitors or of our Mercedes reviews.